Hello, everyone. Hi. Hello. Great. Welcome to Great Cities. Did everybody get something to eat? Yeah. It's still in the town field with salad. So happy you're here. Everyone, hello. So I think we are about a minute from 1 o'clock. But we can, probably go ahead and start. Germany, would you like to let me know? Yeah. Okay, we'll go ahead and start. I'm Vanessa Cordova, and I'm the director here at the Great Cities Institute. So for those of you who have not been here before, welcome. We're really happy to have you here. For those of you who come very often, we're happy that you're here. This event is co-sponsored with the Chicago Workers Cottage Initiative. We're really happy to be working with you all on the series of events, and the president is Samantha Hannay. Hello, Samantha.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, do you want to add anything, Samantha?
Sure. So, on the note of providing affordable housing to folks, we want to boost our organization, the Chicago Workers Cottage Initiative, which works to, cultivate the stewardship of naturally occurring affordable housing in Chicago in the form of workers' cottages.
They've got a wonderful website too, that you want to check out. I've been showing it to my students. Nice. Given the page you have, you compare all the different types of housing in Chicago. It's a really very, very nice website. We've done a lot to help preserve cottages here in Chicago. So thank you for your work, and thank you for this opportunity to co-sponsor this series.
Our pleasure.
Great. So with that, though, today we are very pleased that Kim Hannay is the co-founder and executive director for Digs with Dignity. And I think we probably have some co-presenters here with you. I'll let you introduce them.
Yeah, we got,
We're really happy you're here.
we got a whole spot up here from our side. Yeah, thank you. We're so happy and excited to be here. This is Kat Williams, our marketing coordinator. This is Okisha, who is our client liaison, and then Tico is our head of external affairs at Digs. So we're so grateful and excited to be here and share our mission and our work with you guys. A little bit of background on Digs with Dignity. So we've been doing this work for a little over 5.5 years. We started back in October of 2019, as many remember, right before the pandemic, and had about 6 months of operation before, COVID turned everything upside down. But fortunately for us, we're able to kind of push through that. So we started our organization, myself and my two partners, based on the foundation of just collecting furniture and home goods from the community, and then using those to design and furnish homes for families who are exiting homelessness. So my one partner is a retired woodworker. And so from the jump, sustainability was something that was really important to us. So he can literally fix any piece of furniture that he comes across, broken legs, missing drawers, really anything. He's never got a piece of furniture that he can't fix. We have a really heavy focus on keeping items out of landfills, and that's been a really important piece for us since the beginning. And then my other previous partner was an interior designer in the business for 30 years, really just leaves no stone unturned when it comes to designing fully furnished functional spaces for our families. And with that, my background is in business and marketing. The three of us kind of came together and decided to start this organization because we're really seeing this need where we'll talk a little bit more about our partners that we work with, but our social service agencies that we get all of our client referrals from, they have the funds to help them secure the housing. They have the funds to help them get in there, get a security deposit knocked out, all of that. But the thing that was missing is that they can't afford furniture for the space. So if you imagine from a client's perspective, someone who's experiencing homelessness, you get excited, you go through this housing process, you secure this apartment, which is awesome. Maybe you get a job lined up. You and your 3 kids move in, and then you're in an empty space, and furniture is expensive. There's some options like Facebook Marketplace or other sustainable options that are reasonably cost, but then you also got to figure out how to pick up the furniture, get it in your space, haul a couch up 3 flights of stairs with your 3 kids. And a lot of the clients we work with are single moms or people who don't really have the capacity to do that. So that's kind of where this need developed from. Was the 3 of us came together, and if we could remove that barrier for our clients, it was something that was really important to us to build this organization. So how we've grown over the last 5 years, move along here. So our Our mission is to break the cycle of homelessness by furnishing homes with creative custom designs using sustainable upcycle solutions. So kind of those two buckets that I mentioned, right? We really have a heavy focus on sustainability, but then also really want to make our homes feel custom for our clients. And our process is we go into our family homes after we get that client referral from our social service agency partners that range anywhere from, substance recovery centers to domestic violence shelters to Care Collective, which is a job training and job placement program, and kind of a whole slew of other ones that are listed on our impact report here if you're interested. But those case managers get those families in housing. Our team goes in, we meet with those families, we ask them questions like, what colors do you like? And what are your kids into? And, do they like Minnie Mouse or Spider-Man? And how can we custom make this space so that it not only feels like a home for you, but a home that reflects the colors and the things that make you feel special and make you feel seen and heard. And then after we, measure their space, talk to those clients, we go back to our warehouse. We have a 10,000 square foot warehouse down in Bridgeport. It's just packed with donated goods from the community. Everything big like beds and dressers down to, little knickknacks that go on your shelves, books that go on, your bedside table, artwork that goes on your walls, and really everything that goes into a home. And our designer and our group of volunteers pull together everything based on the custom floor plans that she creates based on what the families have expressed that they want. We take about 2 days in the warehouse to prep everything each week, and then every Friday we're on the road moving in a family. So yeah. So every Friday is a Feel Good Friday for us. We often walk in and, like I said, these families are moving in with little to nothing. Sometimes it's bags of clothes. Sometimes it's a couple of kids and they're sleeping on the floor. Sometimes they can't afford to get at least an air mattress so that they're not sleeping on the ground. But that's not uncommon for us to walk into. And so then from there, we, in a matter of about 5 or 6 hours, move everything in. And by the time we leave with our crew of volunteers, art's hung, everything in the kitchen is washed and organized in the cupboards for the family. Beds are made, baskets are on the beds for the kids, a bunch of toys for them to play with. And then we get a really fun, special, intimate moment with the family when we welcome them back into their space. We're really fortunate that with our funding and our sponsorship program that we've kind of created as an organization, it comes at no cost to the clients. So we really trust our social service agencies that we've built relationships to refer the right clients who are great for this opportunity. But then we get to provide that to them at no cost, and then it's all theirs. What's been really cool, and Okisha can maybe speak a little bit more about that, but we hired Okisha as a previous client of ours. We serviced her back in September of 21. And she can share a little bit more about her story, but we added her position a little over a year ago to go back and communicate with our clients, learn what gaps there still are with their social service agencies. Some things that have come up, for example, are, budgeting and finance is like an issue that still exists for a lot of our families. Some domestic violence support, tenants' rights is a big one that comes up a lot. That families just don't feel like they have all of the resources and information that they need to advocate for themselves. And so we are in the works of building out programming and workshops for our clients to then support them further beyond just getting them in the house and furnishing their space. That is one initiative that we're working on right now. We're also trying to find more ways for our clients to build community with each other. And network with like-minded individuals, people who've gone through some of the similar things that they have. And so, initiatives like we're going to have a big park picnic this summer where, all of our clients can come together and barbecue in the park, and they just get to be themselves and be with each other and be in community with this incredible Diggs family that we've created. So we've had a really kind of cool transition to not only just, helping the environment, helping, families exiting homelessness, but now are really pivoting into how are we building community around that as well, and making sure that our families are all set up with everything that they need and have a community that supports them. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. Hi again, my name is Okisha, client liaison for Diggs. So what I do is very meaningful to me because I can relate on so many levels. I can relate on being homeless. I can relate on being addicted to drugs. I can relate on being an alcoholic, experiencing domestic violence. So what I do is that I do past, future, and present clients. I do follow-ups with them. After so long, I do a follow-up with them, then I go back to see what they accomplished. You have a lot of people that accomplish jobs. You have a lot of people that, well, some people have regain custody of their kids back, which is something that's really, really good. So in my position, I like mainly the part that I can relate, as I said earlier, on so many levels. And it's a comfort that they feel with me because they have trust issues, something that I had. But talking to me and having them laughing and stuff like that, it gets them like, okay, well, I can really trust this lady. And then they go back to digs of when they got their apartment furnished. I can remember when I first walked through the door, I was number 48. We on 216 now, 216 families. So to walk in a space where it's yours, something that you wanted, the colors, I love hearts. So I have a huge art gallery wall. So it's, yeah, right there. I didn't know that was up there. But yeah, it's really, really fun and it's meaningful for the work that I do with all the other dig employees, so.
Cool, so we included some impact reports for you guys to take a look at as well. This was the end of us at 2024. But as Okisha mentioned, we've now serviced over 215 Chicago families in the last 5.5 years. And in the process have kept over 235,000 pounds of furniture and waste out of landfills. So helping families, helping the environment, and creating safe spaces for all of them to then thrive in, which has been really cool. The most important statistic that we have found with our clients through Okisha's research is that of the clients that she's been able to connect with, 95% of them are still in their housing, which really kind of speaks to like the importance of having a fully furnished space that's comfortable and unique and supportive to then you know, being able to focus on your other goals in the future. And, you know, we've thought a lot about, you know, clients in their spaces, you know, if you're trying to get back on your feet and going to a full-time job and trying to, you know, build up your savings, build up your, you know, your income, and then you come home and you're sleeping on the floor. Sometimes it's often, you know, the thought process is I'm better off in a shelter, at least I had a bed there. You know, or if you're deciding to make the decision of do I feed my 3 kids tonight or do I go out and buy a mattress that we've been saving for, and you obviously have to feed your family. So it's a simple no-brainer for us that if we can take things that people don't need, design them in a really beautiful, meaningful way for our families and support them in the space that they're in. It's a no-brainer for us to help them out, and it's had a proven impact on their lives and their sustainability and their longevity. Something else that we've also talked a lot about with our clients is that not only is it helping them sustain their housing, it's also helping them with their personal relationships, right? 95% of them have noticed improvements in their personal relationships, kids feeling comfortable, bringing their friends over to their house, you know, parents feeling, you know, welcoming to bring other people into their space and invite them into their home without fear of embarrassment or fear of, we don't have anywhere to sit if you come over to my house. So it's helped a lot of them strengthen those relationships in their life. 82% of them have felt an increased sense of personal safety and security. So having that fully furnished space to come home to, giving them a place where they can feel safe and secure in their own home. 82% noticed improvements in their mental health and well-being. This one's a no-brainer for us. We recently as a team did a mental health first aid training, and it really kind of struck me as we were kind of going through all the factors that really impact mental health challenges of, you know, financial instability of the home, not having a support network and a support group around you. Like all of those things lead to those mental health challenges that a lot of our families face. And once you take one of those, you know, those barriers out of the picture, it really helps them feel better, move forward, and have a stronger sense of mental health and well-being. And then also 68% feel an increased sense of hope and confidence in the future. That's where, you know, Okisha comes in, and it's so great. We kick off every single week with a client story, a client win that she's heard over the past week. And, you know, you're hearing of clients that are getting promoted or finding employment or having babies or getting married. And it's just normal life things that they're able to then move forward with because they have this sense of security and safety. Next slide. So let's talk about how you guys can get involved. We are, you know, a small but mighty team. We have a staff of 10 at Dick's. And there's a lot of ways that we rely on our community pretty heavily to get involved. So we, like I briefly mentioned, we get a lot of our funding through corporate sponsorships. The cost of doing each home for us is about $5,000. We get a lot of corporations that will cover the cost of helping move that family in. Again, that takes that pressure off of the client or the social service agency to find budget to pay for our services. But that's where we get a lot of our funding. We're always looking for support financially to help continue growing our organization and impacting more families. Volunteering your time, we rely very heavily in the warehouse on, pulling together all the details of the family's home. And it's a cool experience because you know exactly who you are working for, and you get to, learn about the kids and what they're into. And so as you're pulling things together, the linens for their bed, you really have a great opportunity to have that personal connection and pull things together. So we rely very heavily on volunteers and are always looking for more support in our warehouse and on our digs days. Donating furniture, of course, is the no-brainer. We rely on the support of donated goods to help design and furnish our families' homes. We're not afraid of anything that's broken or scratched up or busted up. We can take those pieces and refurbish them and make them look brand new. And those are really the big three ways that we rely on the community for support, and it really takes a village to do what we do. Any questions that immediately have anybody? Yeah.
What do the families apply for help, and where does the process start? And how does that?
Yeah, good question. So like I said, we partner with several different social service agencies in Chicago. So those social service agencies are the ones that are working one-on-one with the family. They provide wraparound case management services for them, of helping them with job support and building up their savings and really finding that stability and securing the housing. Once they get the client in the housing, then their case manager will reach out to us. And then that's where our process begins. Our team goes in and measures the space and gets to know that family before we design their space and furnish it. Yeah.
What neighborhoods do you like to reside in, or do you see the most need?
Yeah, good question. Primarily south and west side, but we've really worked all over the city. Majority of our clients are south and west side though. We've worked in over 60 different neighborhoods in the Chicagoland area. And it really just depends on where the social service agencies have relationships to help secure the housing. And that's also something that, we've dabbled a little bit into too, is that client advocacy work. There's been a few apartments that we've walked into and people advocating for their own rights is really rare. And so we've stepped in a few times where like, if we walk in and it's like, there's no running water, there's no, there's no electricity access in the building. There's, things that are like safety hazards, open gas lines and things like that, we've walked in before and are like, this is not safe. You don't have to be here. We can move through this process. And I think what's been really eye-opening for us is how many people just kind of tolerate those things of apartments that don't have the appropriate structure to live in. And when we can go back and work with the case manager to advocate on that client's behalf and get them rehoused in a new place that feels better for them, that's also something that's really important to us. It's dignity, right? Yeah.
How do you find the properties?
So yeah, those are all through the social service agencies. So the case managers are the ones who have the relationships, and they're the ones who help secure the housing through that. Yeah. Yeah.
Your marketing, do you, I know you're gonna be involved in this. Are you just citywide aiming to speak to the whole city, or are you going neighborhood by neighborhood? Do you have any, what's your strategy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess my kind of ethos with our marketing is that the dignity piece of all of this and the importance of having your home feel like your home. I think that from a donor, volunteer, client perspective, there's a lot of opportunity for people to get involved, but I think that what I guess I'm trying to do on social media and our email newsletters is really just like get that idea out there of, making sure that everybody understands that like, yes, housing is important. We all need housing, but like the dignity piece is a huge part of it. Like you can have a house, but it's not a home if it doesn't feel like yours.
Well, I get it. I believe, or I'm starting to understand. but as far as your outreach goes, I mean, are you just looking at the city of Chicago as one? Sending it out there, or are you targeting different neighborhoods, or, do you have a growth plan?
Oh, that's a big question.
You're talking about in the marketing lens or in the organization as a whole?
Marketing, yeah,
From
like
marketing.
how, how you're going to attract attention, the people that you need, people that would be donating.
Yeah, I mean, what we found is that a lot of our donors end up, from both a financial and a furniture perspective, are typically living on the north side or even in the suburbs. And that's a big piece of where our marketing is targeted.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not just citywide,
Right.
then.
And I would add that it's important for us as a new organization that we throw that umbrella wide
Right.
and broad across the city, because this crisis, this issue is not just very focused on one community, but all communities. And so to Kat's point about our board members are our best advocates as they send it out to their networks, my networks, and that's also one of the volunteer pieces. If you can't donate your time, you can't financially give, hooking up to our website, follow us on social media and get the word out. Kat's very good about every week talking about a life that we impact, and sharing that story to others may stimulate someone that wants to get involved in some way.
How do you find, the landlords, social service owners of housing that are basically pretty well qualified to want to give housing to families that are getting out of homelessness? Because I've been reading that for years that one of the problems that a lot of families to avoid homelessness, especially in the real bottom, don't take anything to any kind of apartment just to get into something.
Yeah, good question. I think, like I had mentioned, our social service agencies, we put a lot of trust and a lot of, just like care and attention in defining the right partners. And we've kind of cycled through some partners and sunsetted some relationships over the last 5 years for social service agencies that don't necessarily align with our values. We're looking for the longevity of our relationships with our families that we service, right? We're not gonna, let's dump off furniture and make this transactional and then like, we're done, we'll never talk to you again. And I think that's really been a big part of your role, is that we're looking to build that community and that trust and that long-term relationship, so that if they're moving in the future, they're not gonna leave all their stuff behind and move to a new apartment, and then we're in the same problem, right? We're just cycling through that furniture, and then that furniture ends up in a landfill when we've already kept it out of the landfill. And so being really intentional about finding the right partners who also, have community values. They're looking to like build a network of people. And I think Above and Beyond is an awesome example. That's where Okisha came to us from, is Above and Beyond, which is the substance recovery center that's on the west side. And they really have this, like, if you've ever walked through their doors, it is a vibe in there. You walk in and it's just like, doesn't feel clinical at all, especially for a substance recovery center, which most often you're walking into a very clinical setting that's very sterile. It's pretty intimidating. It's pretty hard to feel like welcome in that space. And people are already coming in with shame and embarrassment or uncertainty, or but the vibe there is so non-judgmental. It's community-based, or, peer-to-peer led workshops and things like that give their, their people a really like comfortable, welcome, secure, safe space to operate in. And I think that's really important for us as we continue to build out that network of relationships that we have, is that like, that's like the gold standard for what we're looking for. We're looking for a case manager who's gonna help that client if they call them at, 10 at night and they're like, my heat stopped working, what do I do? That they can kind of walk them through that process with the landlord and advocate on behalf of that client to make sure that they get what they need. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you work with the public officials like aldermen?
We haven't, in the past, we've
Because
done.
it's always good to combine, have a public-private partnership, I think,
Yeah,
when you're trying to improve
things in the community.
Yeah, we've done some outreach in the past, and haven't been super successful, but it's definitely an area that we can dabble into.
What are the, I guess, qualifications when you're trying to partner with an organization? Is it just like based on?
Like the social service agency.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, the first question that I typically ask them is, what does your relationship look like long-term with your clients? What does your relationship look like after the housing process is over? What does your relationship look like with, clients interacting with each other? And the length of their program is also really important. So ones that have a 5-year in-house program, a client yesterday who she's like been a part of this community for 5 years. She was like raving about her case manager to me at our initial visit with her, and I was like, oh, like these people are the real deal, right? Like they've been successful at creating a safe space where she's like, I'm gonna pick up the phone and call my case manager after this, because like she will be so excited to hear about like you guys coming and helping me out and furnishing my space. And and then I emailed the case manager today and she's just like, yep, I'll be at the reveal. Can't wait to be there to support that client. Like that's the kind of relationship that we're looking for. So it's not always like hard qualifications, but like it's certainly like the way that they speak about their long-term relationships with the clients, the way that like if I pick up the phone and say like, hey, they've got cockroaches in their space and we walked in for the initial visit and there's cockroaches everywhere. Is that caseworker gonna then go advocate on that client's behalf? And realistically, like a lot of case managers are overworked and underpaid and the resources are lean. So it's also been how do we, partner with and support the organizations that invest in their people and invest in their case managers to make sure that they're set up with the resources they have and have reasonable, manageable caseloads, where they can give those clients that attention. Because it takes a village. Yeah.
do you have another question, but I'm not taking anybody else's time?
No, you're good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Like for the age ranges too, like what do you see, like it's people moving in person?
Yeah, good question. We don't have a specific age range that we work with. It's kind of been a full spectrum. I think, what's been like a populations that are overlooked a lot are a lot of people want to help single moms with kids. But there is a really heavy need in singles, single men and single women who are, going through whatever they are and getting housed, and a lot of places don't want to help them. They want to help kids. They want to help families. They want to help, big groups get back on their feet. And while there is certainly a need there is also a really heavy need for singles. People with grown kids, for example, we talk about that a lot. Keisha's kids were grown when we came into the picture for her family, and it would have been such a shame to like overlook somebody just because they don't have little kids that need support. Yeah, I think those are probably the most overlooked.
Yeah.
Is the single population, but we've helped, as young as early 20-year-olds with kids or singles, and all the way into people in their 70s. The need never really goes away, and I think we've learned a lot about this a bit. Homelessness doesn't look one way. There's so many different ways that it can come about, and people's experiences and all of that is so different. And so being adaptable and engaging in the messy work, it's always going to be messy, but how can we, make it individualized for those people on an issue that's so large in scale, but realistically, when you boil it down, homelessness is experienced on an individual level. So you have to approach it in a way that is individualized. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any type of agreement or rules that these families will have to adhere to, for example, that might put them at risk for losing their house in having a family, or goals that they have to meet?
Yeah.
As a community?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think each of our social service agencies are a little bit different. So, Catholic Charities, for example, is a much larger scale organization that's supporting people transitioning from homelessness. But they're on a 2-year program. They have like outlined goals and metrics that the family needs to hit in that program in order to sustain their subsidies for the housing. So they're not given by us, but they are, some of them, given by their case managers, and are working kind of one-on-one for them to work towards hitting those goals. And they're fluid. They they can adjust those goals and stuff along the way, but it's super important that they're kind of helping them like with that whole, like, what is your path to full stability look like? And the case managers that we work with are typically pretty good at helping them outline what that looks like. And adjusting when it doesn't go to plan. Yeah.
I'd like to congratulate you for finding a way to help so many people, and it's really important transitional part of their lives. I just think that is so terrific, and it's inspiring that you've done something to help so many people. And I also am so glad that you are measuring how much like your furniture weighs and stuff like the sustainability component too.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're putting those pieces together. And I just want to wonder, I'm wondering, what do you think are the limiting factors that you're dealing with right now, organizational? Is it
For sure.
getting together the furniture? Is it getting together like people power? Is it the funding? Is
Yeah,
it-
sure, good question. We're looking to grow as an organization, right? Ideally, we're looking to service 2 families a week by the end of the year. And ideally sooner than that, like the need is so great. And we found that this process really works for people, so we want to throw down and amplify that impact. The limiting factors are, for us currently, are, some logistical warehouse space. We're limited on warehouse space. 10,000 square feet sounds like a lot, but when you talk about securing larger donations of 50 mattresses, like we don't have capacity to store that. But in order to get to a point where, like in the next couple of weeks, we're pumping out like almost 10 queen mattresses, like that's gonna almost deplete our inventory of that. Right now, we're sitting on like 2 twin mattresses. So we need the ability to take on larger scale donations. And I think those partnerships are out there for us. We just haven't really explored them enough because we don't have the capacity to take on those items. So currently in the works of looking for a new warehouse. Funding is of course an issue that we're all is top of mind for everybody right now in the economy and with the state of the country. So as we look to grow and what we're, carefully investing in to be good stewards of our money, but then also being mindful of like what a potential recession could look like for our organization is really important. So money is certainly a limiting factor, and and volunteer support is always really helpful for us. We really rely heavily on the prep work on volunteers. Typically, we have the corporate sponsors who come and support us on the actual moves itself, but in the warehouse, we're always looking for extra hands and helping like get that prep work knocked out. And before we can jump to 2 families a week, we need to continue building that up so that we're good in that transition. Yeah.
Do you have experience working with undocumented families or single mothers who have had experience with domestic violence?
Yes to both. We work with Enlace, which is they primarily service the Latino community in the Hilton area. But we've worked with a couple undocumented people or people who have come from, I'm trying to remember where a couple of they're Spanish speaking clients.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly where they have come here from, but we're working through that whole process. And then women experiencing domestic violence, absolutely. A couple of our partners specifically focus on women experiencing domestic violence. Facing Forward is one of them. And they have all of the resources within their team as well to provide, therapy and working through workshops and things like that to help them process, helping them with orders of protection if they need them, helping them with, really what they need to get stable in their space.
Women's Justice League does too, right?
Women's Justice Institute, as formerly incarcerated women. Yeah.
Or incarcerated.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you ever work with individuals that might be open to like getting paired to live together if that would make the process easier, or is a part of like they didn't really want to make sure that they can live like on their own and support themselves?
Yeah, I think we have, because we don't find the housing for them, but we've had families that are like blended families in their space where it's a couple families that are living together in one unit. There was one family, I remember we serviced several years ago, and it was 3 different families living in a 3-bedroom apartment, and each family essentially like had their own bedroom. And it was parents with kids in all 3 of those bedrooms. So there's a lot of people living in one space. But that's something that they kind of work out with their case manager. Client we just met yesterday is a single mom with 2 kids, and she's got one that lives with their dad. But her mom lives with her brother lives with her. It's, you know, we're basically creating a space for her extended family as well, not only, you know, just her and her girls. So I feel like it's odd, you know, one of the messy things about the work we do, it's never the same. And our team is really great at adapting to, you know, what the needs of the client are, so that we can make sure that it feels good for them.
You mentioned social service agencies, a number of them and working with them.
Mhm.
Can you describe a little bit more about that relationship, how you make contact and?
With the social
Yeah.
service agencies? Yeah. We get a lot of requests. I almost weekly, I would say, I probably get some requests from another agency.
So the agency reaches out to you?
The agency reached out to us, yeah. Our initial partnerships, when we first started Digs 5 years ago, we sought out, but since then, it's kind of been new relationships coming to us, which has been great, but, yeah, it's hard because we don't want a giant wait list for our families. And when we get our referrals, like we're scheduling about a month out and we like to keep it in that sweet spot. Where we're almost asking for referrals versus us sitting on a bunch of referrals just because we are one a week. So we're kind of limited on how quickly we can get to people, and we just don't want people having to sit in their house for, you know, 3 months before we can provide furniture for them. So yeah, with the social service agencies, a lot of them have reached out to us. We've built relationships kind of through that process that I mentioned of, you know, surveying like what their community relationship looks like their long-term relationship with our families, and figuring out like exactly the right fit for our organization. And I think we're in a really good sweet spot right now with the partners that we have. Because it's quite the variety of community and quite the variety of clients that we're getting. And different size homes, and, you know, singles versus families versus single moms versus single dads versus formerly incarcerated versus substance recovery and DV and everything in between. So we have a pretty good mix right now, with what we have.
Do you have any kind of referral set up around job training or job getting access to employment?
Yeah, so that's something that we're actually working on right now is not only just the client workshops that eventually we want to host, but we're also looking to form partnerships right now for referrals for any needs that our clients have. So we've kind of narrowed it down to a smaller list, and have talked about, you know, every home that we have, we're gonna leave a magnet on their fridge with a QR code that they can scan that brings up a whole list of like vetted resources. So if they need, you know, food pantries on, you know, each area of the city, that'll be something that's on their domestic violence support, LGBTQ centers. What else is on that list? We got quite a bit.
Resume building.
Resume building, yeah, we have a relationship with Career Collective for job training, and a direct contact there that we can connect them with. So yeah, just looking for the whole gamut of resources for them to pull from. And that'll be the ideal situation if they can, you know, we leave that behind, and then hopefully they can get whatever other individual resources that you need. And then we can also offer opportunities for community and future learning for our families as well.
So do you have a number that is, and people can call when they have problems with the.
Yeah, so it's actually on our website, or you can scan it directly. But yeah, there's a form on our website. It's a super easy process. We do one monthly pickup route where we're out in the community and starting to grow that a little bit more. But our warehouse is down in Bridgeport. We take regular drop-offs as well. But you know, if you're moving and you're within city limits, like we're regularly out in the community picking up donations. And like I said, anything big furniture, our guys will come and pick it up from your house. Small stuff, we'll throw it in our cars and bring it to the warehouse. Like we're always out grabbing goodies. Yeah.
Phrases, what are your sticking points or your choke points? Like, I'm sure it's a balance of supply and demand. It sounds like, you have plenty of referrals.
Yeah.
From social services agencies.
Right.
So that doesn't sound like an issue.
Right.
But like, what are you lacking other than money, probably? But,
Yeah.
How about, is it donations? Is that another sticking point?
Yeah, donations are definitely one. I think because we're working with donated goods from the community, like our inventory really ebbs and flows in the warehouse, and Things like bed pillows, right? Like we use anywhere from 4 to 20 in one home, depending on the size of the family, the size of the home. So those typically run out pretty quickly for us. Mattress pads are like a thing that people don't think about, but like we put a mattress pad on every bed, and kitchen appliances, everybody wants an air fryer right now. And so getting enough air fryers in our warehouse so we can support what our family's needs are.
Do you buy things like, do you go to Goodwill or places like that?
Yeah, we do have a small budget for every home, but we try to get as much donated as we can.
Yeah.
Occasionally we'll put up like a wish list on our social media, and usually they get picked up real quick for, but it's usually like the fun stuff, the colorful
Yeah,
toys and books and things that people want to buy versus like a mattress pad.
or just things that we don't regularly get, like we had a high chair request recently, and we don't have a lot of those come through the warehouse, that was a wish list item. Things like baby bouncers, like those kind of baby specific items.
Yeah.
That we don't get a lot of.
But all of those like specific things that our clients request, like we usually try to make it happen, and the marketing is the key for that. So just getting it out there, and our following's pretty great on jumping on those things. The thing that's sitting in your closet that you like don't think about, and then you see it on there and you're like, oh, I have a high chair.
Yeah.
It's been sitting on it for a while anyways. I would say our other sticking point is probably capacity right now. We're a small team. We're only 10 people.
Oh.
And in order to grow to support 2 families a week, like we're slowly building the infrastructure with some of the recent hires that we made, but then we're also looking to we'll need to hire another designer, so we'll need to get to a team of at least 11 before we can make that jump. So
I'll add that volunteers are always in the warehouse and also out on our moved digs days. Not only is that something that we really need the support of and that we really value, but it's also a very fun experience. I don't know if anybody here likes to like walk around Home Goods, but that's kind of what volunteering in our warehouse is like. Is you get to know a little bit about what the family wants to see in their home, and then you get to kind of like find what fits. You get to do a little bit of design, you get to do a little bit of upcycling if you're into that. And then, within just a couple of days, you get to see it all come together. And then you get to, if you're there on Friday, you get to be able to say welcome home when they do come home. You get to see the way that these kids' faces light up at their favorite toy. We had a kid last week who really wanted Blippi. I don't know who that is, but he was so excited at this like Blippi coloring book. And it was just like such a sweet moment. And really being able to see it all come together so fast. It's both a lot of fun and, it's quick and direct and very helpful in fact.
like a rustic Home Goods, maybe not like as nice as Home Goods, but.
I feel like a lot of vintage stuff, we get a lot of, it was like nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
I'd like to comment and say, as somebody who's trying to get rid of things for a child who's growing up, there are a lot of like baby things that like Goodwill and other places simply will not take. And it sounds like those are some of the things that you really need the most, so.
Us or Share Our Spare is a great place to donate baby stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They like their kids 0 to 5 is their organization.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You know, something I
Yeah,
was thinking.
they're hard to get rid of.
Oh, they expire.
Well, and also you don't know if it's been in a,
Right.
in a car crash or something. But it's like, I have a totally functional car seat. And I want to share it with somebody, but.
Yeah.
Where does it go?
For sure.
I was wondering, what are these companies like Apt or something like that? The companies that deliver furniture and they take your old stuff. What do they do with the stuff they pick up? Mattresses. I mean, guess I thought about that.
For sure. It's not easy to get rid of a mattress.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question. And before we've explored that relationship, we just need more space to store stuff. Because I think what we've found with the couple of those relationships that we started to explore is that it's got to work for them too, right? And they don't want to get rid of 5, they want to get rid of 50. And so for us to take 50 TVs right now would be a lot. So we're limited on space. And
Comic places in fall all the time.
Yeah.
Work out a deal.
Yeah.
Are there any like events coming up that we can go and support?
Funny you should ask. We do actually have an event in 2 weeks. It's an Earth Day event. So we started last year, but this one celebrates the sustainable side of our mission. It's at the Atria, which is in Humboldt Park. It's a free event. You can find it on
On the QR code.
the QR code, on our social media. But tickets are free. You can grab a ticket and come join us, and it'll be a great event to learn a little bit more about our mission. You get to do some hands-on stuff. We've got some like hands-on, Jan will be there, refurnishing some chairs and reupholstering chairs. And so some hands-on experiences too, that you can kind of learn about. And then we just get to, celebrate the environmental impact that we've made as an organization.
And another special part about that is that one of our previous clients, he loves to write poems. So he will be doing his poems for this. So it's gonna be really, really nice. This man, he's
Cool.
very, very cool. Yeah, and his poetry, stuff like that. So, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what kind of housing are you working with? Is it mostly apartments
Mhm.
or flats or single family houses? And is the social service agencies that are finding this housing, does it match the need for the housing, or are there, what kind of housing is missing from what you're trying to find, or they're trying to find to match up with anybody?
Definitely. Honestly, it's been a really big mix for us. So sometimes, very, very rarely we'll get like a single family home. Most often it's, a couple of flats in a building. We've worked with some like bigger complexes before where we're moving in the freight elevator. But I would say the typically like we were working in like 3-story buildings with 6 to 8 units. I feel like it's typically what they find. I think most of the time our clients are pretty happy with the size of their unit. We've had a couple that are like, this is just until the next step home for us. And I think the area also determines that a lot for our clients, if they're not happy with the area that it's in, because a lot of the subsidized housing is not in great areas, especially if you've got little kids. So but that's also something that, we've talked about. That moving piece is a big barrier that you found, and a lot of clients are like, well, I'll just leave everything behind, because how could I possibly afford movers? How could I possibly get my stuff from this apartment into my new apartment? And so, we've got 2 movers on staff, and if we can help that client move and take all their stuff with them, amazing.
Have you heard of Community Glue Workshop?
Community glue.
Yeah, Community Glue. It's a group of volunteers who like regularly meet up and just repair people's stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah. I don't know if they're still doing it. I know they were active a couple of years ago. In
Okay.
fact, Carla Nine, who was just here for the last event for the Chicago, or for the Bungalow Association.
Yeah.
She's been involved in it too. And the premise is that they teach people to repair their stuff. And
Cool.
so there are people who go regularly and like repair stuff, and they're like stars.
Awesome.
They're just really good at repairing stuff, but they also teach people to fix stuff so that your stuff remains more usable and it's not thrown away.
Yeah.
But it seems like partnering with them might be really interesting. Sort of repair a bunch of your stuff, but also because lots of people might like to learn how to repair things.
Totally. That's something that Jan, who does all of our repair and restoration work, he is a retired woodworker, like I said, and he loves to teach. He's got so much knowledge in his head that he specifically loves to empower women with tools, because they typically aren't comfortable picking them up, but really anybody, he'll teach classes and workshops. He's developed 3 different workshops, one on just like intro to tools, and like we'll lay out 50 tools on the table and tell you the proper name of them, how to properly use them, what each of their uses is. The other one, he does sanding and refinishing, so like painting, sanding techniques, and then he'll do one on wall mounting, so how to properly install anchors and toggle bolts, and what everybody's always using, like giant nails, when you really need a little teeny tiny one for the weight of the picture that you're hanging, and how to properly hold a hammer and use a drill and all of that. So he's developed these workshops that have been really helpful for a lot of our like volunteers and people to learn from.
And I don't know whether people who are moving in would need this so much, because usually the maintenance is taken care of, but just learning how to maintain where you live is big.
I can't tell you.
Especially in cases
Okay.
where maybe the maintenance should be taken care of, but.
Yeah.
They usually don't.
So,
Yeah, they
yeah,
do.
so there's probably, you tell others, but there's
Yeah.
probably a great need for people to learn how to maintain those.
I can't tell you how many beeping fire alarms we have walked into that just need a battery change. And the 9-volt batteries that we go through are, it's crazy. And I'm like, how do you sleep at night? This is like every 30 seconds, it's a little ping, like it's crazy.
Does the group have any like policy focuses? I'm just thinking of like the city and the state legislation around creating ADUs or legalizing 4 flats across the city. Is there like any focus on those types of like housing expansion efforts, or is it more just the actual operations of getting people into houses?
It's a little bit outside of our scope. But definitely, like I said, like advocacy work is something that we've dabbled into briefly, but not extensively. Yeah, a little bit outside of our scope, I would say with that. Yeah.
Do you have any connection with the private waste management services?
Private waste management services?
Yeah.
We don't.
But sometimes people will throw out, they can.
Oh, like throw out their big
Yeah,
furniture?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we are not above alley picking, that's for sure. If I drive past a good piece of my alley, it's going in my car.
Yeah, in terms of volunteering, is there a process or how do people go about signing up? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, there's a quick Google form that you fill out just so that we get your email, so that we can get in touch with you. And then you go straight to our sign up genius and you can just pick, whatever shifts you're available for whenever you want to come in. And it's that simple. And then there's like a waiver that people fill out, with like emergency contact info and that kind of thing, but it's very simple.
And like you said, we have opportunities in our warehouse. We're in our warehouse on Mondays and Wednesdays during the day, and then Tuesday evenings and some Saturdays. Yeah. So
It's in Bridgeport.
Bridgeport, yeah. Yeah, Pershing and Damon is where our warehouse is at.
You have mentioned the classes that you take about doing,
Mhm.
as far as like advocacy for tenants or financial literacy, or even maybe trying to inform training for the clients. What if someone has experience in that, wants to help volunteer in that area? How does that work? If you don't know.
Good question. If you or someone you know is interested, just shoot us, I can give you my card, shoot us an email directly, and we're still in the works of building that out. Something that we're hoping probably around Q3, I feel like will be our first client workshop. But we're looking to build out resources and people who are interested in facilitating those, and be resources for our clients. So definitely interested in talking about it. Yeah.
We're located in Bridgeport.
Are you?
Yeah.
Where at?
Wallace. 28.
Okay.
It's an old church, the Catholic church called All Saints.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's good.
We're neighbors.
Yes. Then we currently, I think we have already applied for funding for the university.
Okay.
So I don't know if you are already doing it or if you.
Digital literacy, you said? Oh, yeah, that'd be an amazing resource. Let's definitely exchange information. Yeah. Yeah.
I would just add, the question about capacity, and I've been there since February 1st, and I would say all the things that we've described as a new organization, we need, lots of support and outreach. But if you have these ideas, if you see a grant, if you see an organization that you think, wow, this could be a really good fit for Digs with Dignity, email us, right? Because all of us are always looking for opportunities, on Facebook, I saw an opportunity for a grant at ComEd, I applied for it, and we're waiting. Little things like that, more eyes out there reaching out and emailing us will help us grow our capacity. So those ideas are very much welcome. And I agree that working with our elected officials, I've reached out to a lot of them in our community, along with state reps, because even though we're in tough times, they all have discretional funds. So.
Wrap up point to be underneath or?
No, just thankful for the opportunity to be here and, this community is so great. And we're lucky to be a part of it. So thanks for having us and would love for any of you guys to get involved if you're interested and inspired by the work we do and check out our website. We've got great videos on there if you want to meet some of the families that we've serviced. Hard to watch some of those videos and not tear up because it's emotional. And it's a pretty special moment every Friday when we move in our families. So just
We appreciate your time that you took to come and share this with us. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.